now. Okay, great. Hopefully that worked. Um, so like I was saying, let's start with some commands, right? Let's learn some commands because we're here. Let's learn some commands. So there are two commands that you gotta know by heart. You should never Google that. The first one is cd, changing directories. That's all it does. It changes from one directory to another. Right now you are in the downloads directory. You want to go to the music directory. You choose the downloads, the cd command. The next command that you should know and you should never Google is the pwd command. It stands for present working directory. And it does that. It shows you your present working directory. That's all it does. Let's see those commands in practice, shall we? So right now, if I want to know where I am in the file system, where exactly I am located, all I have to do is type pwd. And right now I am in my home directory. If I want to change directories to a different directory, for example, I want to go to the downloads directory, all I have to do is type cd and the place where I want to go. I want to go to the downloads directory, so I'm going to type home downloads. As you can see, my prompt changed, and now it's displaying the location of where I am.
It's like the Windows too. I mean, DOS.
Yes, does have a similar command to that as well.
Uh-huh.
All shells have a command like that. All shells. Now, was that difficult?
Not at all. Not at all,
Let's
Professor.
let's
So you see, the BWD is used for displaying what exactly? For display.
present working directory. A lot of times you want to know where you are. A lot of times because you can be just in the downloads directory, or you can be very very deep in the file system so that you don't even remember where you are.
Okay.
PWD answers a simple question: where am I? That's it.
It's like the maps in the mall.
Yep. Yes. That's an amazing analogy right there. If you're in the mall and you have a map and you want to know where you are, there is normally a pin that says you are
That's the
here.
security guy.
PWD does exactly that. Where are you? PWD. Sorry, PWD. I will ask you that questions a lot. I will ask you that question a lot. So remember that. Now, if I want to change a directory, like I was saying before, I use the cd command. A cd can move it forward and cd can move it backwards. But before I get there, there is something I need to teach you, and that is how that is paths. Let's go to a change. Paths. So a path is the address of a particular file or directory in the file system. Again, a path is the address of a particular file or folder in the file system. There are two ways to write your path. That is absolute or relative. Absolute path means the exact location of the file beginning at the root, at the top of the file system, all the way with the name of the file or the directory. It's absolute because no matter where you are in the file system, that path is going to take you there. For example, I am going to move to user share themes at Wida. I am now in the at Wida. I hope I'm pronouncing it right so I don't get killed in the YouTube's comment section. Uh, theme is the theme is one of the themes that Ubuntu has, right? I want to go to my downloads directory. I can use absolute path to move there because I am telling the shell specifically how to get to my downloads folder. So I am telling the shell, first, I want you to go to the root. Then I want you to go to the home directory. Then I want you to go to the user, Adrian, me, the home directory. Then I want you to go to the downloads directory. If you press enter, it automatically took me to where I said I wanted to go.
Professor, how come it doesn't show you the content inside the downloads?
Don't swim, my friend. You're trying to pilot a jet. You don't know how to fly a kite.
Baby steps.
Baby
No.
steps. The command line can be very convoluted and complicated. Let's take baby steps. Okay, but don't worry, I'll teach you how to do it too. So now, as you can see, absolute paths are great because they can take me anywhere that I want as long as I know the path instantaneously. Sometimes absolute path might not be very useful, especially when the path is very long. That's why we have what is called relative path. Relative path don't start at the root. They start at a directory that is relative to your position. That sounds complicated, but it's actually simpler than you think. Now, if I go to my home directory, right now I am in my home directory. All the directories inside my home directories, all those subdirectories are relative to my home directory. For example, let me do this. I want to show it to you graphically. This over here is the absolute path of where I am right now. Everybody's clear there?
Yes.
These directories are relative to this directory. So from here, if I am in this directory, I can go to any of these directories without having to type the root. For example, if I want to go to the downloads directory from my home directory, I can just do cd and type downloads. And that works because the shell knows that inside the folder of where I am, there is another folder called downloads. Does that make sense?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, we use that, Professor, in web development too.
You use that a lot.
Yeah.
A ton. As a matter of fact, a lot of every time I'm debugging somebody's website and assets are not showing, like the image is not showing, 90% of the time is because the developer doesn't understand how paths work.
Yeah.
Such a simple concept. So now you are gonna get the hang of relative path and absolute path as time goes by. If you want to make your life easy, always use absolute path. If you want to make your life easy. I personally believe that a combination of both is the best thing you can do. I use a combination of both in my daily basis, specifically because sometimes you have to use absolute path. There is no way other than using absolute path. And other times there is just easier to use relative path. For example, I want to go back to this directory over here. Sorry. This directory over here. If I want to go to the downloads directory, I don't have other choice but to use absolute path, right? Because there is no downloads directory in that directory at all. For instance, if I try, it's going to give me an error. And pay attention to the error message. And the error message is right. Inside the Adwaita directory, there is no such a thing as a downloads directory. So the shell says, hey, are you nuts? What exactly do you want me to go? I don't know how to get there. I have no idea how to get there. So what we do is that we tell the shell how to get there by using absolute path. Any questions about absolute path versus relative path?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. If you ever have any confusion, you have any question, just shoot me a message in Slack. Okay. So you already know what the pwd command does. Here is the pwd in practice. Now I want to expand on the change directory command. I want to give you more useful examples, right? Specifically some shortcuts. I want to start with a period. What does a period means? A simple period. If I do cd period period, what does that mean? A single period represents the present working directory. Two periods represent the previous directory. So if I want to go back one directory, I don't have to I don't have to type the whole path. All I have to do is do cd period period. And that's going to take me one way back. Let me try one more time with a longer path. So right now, you are in this particular path. I want to go back to themes. All I have to do is type cd period period, and I am back in themes. If you type pwd to know where you are, you're going to notice that you are back in themes. If I want to go back, but in this case I want to go to the root, I will have to go back twice, right? One time, two times, then I'm in the root.
So you put 3.
One time, two times.
Oh.
User. But I want to go in the root. Root. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But can you do a cd dot slash like more? Just
Oh,
one
of
command?
course, of course. You can go all the way to the top of the file system. You cannot go further than that because there is nothing else further than the root. The root is the top.
Mm.
But yeah, you can go as many times as you want, as long as there is a directory to go to.
Okay.
Now, if I want to go to my home directory, the fastest way is just typing cd. I'm at the home. I'm home.
So it's just cd, just go back straight home.
Just takes me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. That's it. There is another way to do that. You can do cd and the tilde character. Tilde character is expansion to home directory. Also takes me home. You can also do it this way. And it also takes me home. 3 ways. Learn one of them. Now, sometimes you change one working directory to another working directory, and they are not necessarily related to each other. For example, I want to go to this directory one more time. And then I want to go to the downloads directory. So I'm going to do cd tilde and then downloads. Why does that work?
Because it returns to the home directory, then to the downloads.
Exactly because of that. Because
Just
you're
like
telling the shell, change directories to the home and then go to downloads.
Oh.
Press enter. Now, what if I want to go back to this directory over here?
I think
cd.
the absolute.
same thing.
Oh.
That's useful, isn't it? Sometimes you are working in two directories that are too far away from each other, way too far away from each other.
I also
And you
think
want
what
to
you
switch
say-
back and forth. You want to switch back and forth from one and the other. CD and the minus character. It's like that minus symbol in your keyboard that is normally either before or on top of the plus symbol in your keyboard.
The dash. Okay.
Done. Done. Now you can work back and forth, back and forth. You can move between one and the other. They're both absolute. They're both very far away, so you cannot use relative path. Your choice are either typing the relative path, using the arrow keys to navigate between one or the other, or you can be smart and save yourself some time and just use that. Any question about the cd command? No questions?
No, so far we're good, Professor.
So far we're good. I can wait until I actually assign you a lab on this.
Oh my god. No,
Here,
we're good now.
here are a couple of examples of using the cd command, right? For example, I already showed you how to use a relative path, but I want to show you this one over here. If you know programming, you are already accustomed to the term variables, right? What is a variable? It's a placeholder for data. See,
Yeah.
one of the beautiful things about Linux is that Linux supports variables. A placeholder for data. There are two variables that I have introduced to you already and you didn't see because I haven't explained them. One of them is the home environment variable. The home environment variable stores the current user's home directory, the absolute path of the current user's home directory. So if I want to see the value of the home environment variable, I use the echo command and I type the name of the environment variable starting with a $sign. I will explain what that $sign means and more on that when we get into programming on Linux, specifically how to write shell scripts on Linux. For the moment, just bear with me. Another environment variable is user. What do you think that variable stores?
The password and a username.
The username of whoever is logged in at the moment.
Mhm.
See? That means that I can actually use that variable in my path. For example, cd. Oh yeah, that's a new terminal, sorry. cd user share. I can do cd home user downloads. Now, what the shell is gonna do is this. The shell is gonna do, okay, you want to change directories to home. Then from home, you want me to go to whatever value is in here. Then the shell automatically looks for the value of the variable and puts it in there. Then
So
continues to downloads.
can we replace the user with the specific username that we need to look for?
Of course you can.
Okay.
What if you're building a shell script that will copy all the pictures of a computer to a flash drive?
Mhm.
And you want to use that script in 20 computers, all with different
Oh.
usernames.
Good luck.
Good luck. That's very easy. That's very easy. It's very, very easy.
Okay.
I can actually do it with 3 lines of code, and you, by the end of the semester, will be able to do it too. Okay, so now let's learn a little bit about some features that Bash have that are amazing and that you should know. One of them is tab autocompletion. So if you're typing a command or you're typing a path, in this case, I want to go to I want to go to the downloads directory. So I'm going to type cd and I'm going to press D. If I press tab once, nothing is going to happen because there are a lot of directories there that start with letter D. Their name start with letter D. So I need to be a little bit more specific. Or if I want to see all the directories that start with letter D, I can just double tap. And it's going to say, okay, so you want to go there. You want me to help you know where you're going. You want me to autocomplete, but you're giving me too little. You have 3 files that meet that criteria. Can you be more specific? Sure, I can be more specific. Do, tap. Nothing happens. Why nothing happens?
There's
Well,
two
Documents.
you have two
document
of
and
them.
Both
download. Yeah.
start with the same 2 letters.
So the shell doesn't know where to go. Okay, so let's be more specific. I am going to give you DOC, and I'm going to press tab. Whoop. There is only one directory that meets the criteria. The shell auto completes it. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, sir.
You can do that for commands and you can do that for directories as well, for like paths and also for files. Never type. Actually, you should use autocompletion as much as you can, because if you're typing a particular directory and autocompletion is not working and you know that directory exists, you know you did something wrong. You don't even have to run the command. You know you did something wrong. For example, I want to go to a directory called, Dalma, cd dal, and it's not auto completing. Why? It's simple. No directory Dalma exists there.
Okay.
The same thing if I want to go to documents, and inside documents there is a directory called, dr, for example, and I type D and I type to autocomplete and it doesn't autocomplete, you know that directory doesn't exist. You don't have to run it to know that the directory doesn't exist.
Professor,
You double tap, no options appear. You single tap, it didn't autocomplete, doesn't exist.
Professor,
Right.
in which terminal emulator does the autocomplete? All of them?
All of them.
Okay, thank you.
That's a feature of the shell. That's a feature of bash.
Yeah.
That
Some of them they
determines
does automatic. Some of them they have to press tab. Some of them they have different manners.
Yes. For example, the fish shell, like we mentioned earlier in the class, will show you automatically your options, right? Based on your history. But bash doesn't do that. Bash does the tabbing. You have to tab like how
PowerShell.
PowerShell does it too. Similar how PowerShell does it. So another way to navigate your commands easy is by using your arrow keys. For example, arrow up shows you, goes up in the history of commands that you run. Arrow down, same thing. Up and down, up and down, up and down to go up and down in the
One
history.
command that shows all the command, Professor.
You want to see all the commands that you have typed so far.
Okay. There is no specific command that shows you all the command that you can run on this specific eliminator.
Yes, of course, help.
Okay.
But
Help.
why? Yeah, sure, you can.
Okay.
There are a lot of commands. There are a lot of commands. Trying to memorize them all is futile.
Going crazy.
Way too
They
many
want
commands.
pride.
The best thing you can do is learn them as you go.
Yeah.
These are all the commands that I have run. A lot of them. And when I use up and down, that's exactly what it does. Left and right is to, obviously to move in between the commands. So I can eliminate a particular character and so on. There is also a list of shortcuts for bash. You can access it if you go to that link. And why is the hyperlink not working? I need to fix the hyperlink. Linux file system explain. No, again, that's an amazing video that you have to watch. It's amazing. How to navigate the file system here. Now, let's do something a little bit more interesting. How do you list files? And listing means showing the files that are inside a particular directory. In Linux, we use the term listing. Listing a directory. It's nothing but showing the files that are inside a particular directory. How do you do that? We have a command for that. And that command is ls. ls. What the command does? It lists files and directories. That's what it does. Right here. I want to know the files that are inside the downloads directory. I want to know the files that are inside the documents directory. ls, and then the directory that I want to list. In this case, documents. Press enter, and it's going to show you all the files that I have in the documents directory. Did my screen sharing broke?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little weird. Okay, because I don't see the border, the zoom adds in there. So ls can display a lot of information about the files. And ls is a very powerful command because it can also show and list your files in different ways. For instance, you can sort the output of the ls command in multiple ways. You can do it by name. You can do it by size. You can do it by last modified. You can do it by extension name, or by the file extension. ls is one of those commands that you gotta know because it's extremely useful. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. For instance, list the content of the present working directory. So you want to see what's inside your home directory. For instance, I'm in my home directory. See, that's all the files that I have there. Okay, what is our presentation? Right here, right here. There you go. List all the files inside the present working directory, but I want to see all the files that are hidden. All the files that are hidden, including the files that are there. Simple. ls documents. But now I am going to add the -a option for all. It's going to show me everything, including the files that are hidden. The problem is there are no hidden files in the documents directory. So why don't we create a hidden file? In Linux, Hidden files are identified because they have a period at the beginning of their name.
So this is
Any
another way
file,
to
any
hide the
file.
file.
That's the only way to hide a file in Linux.
They use some programming they use like a dollar sign, professor, too.
Oh, a dollar sign to hide a file. I mean, at least in Linux, the only way to
Okay.
hide the file is with a period in its name.
Okay.
If you want to see on the graphical interface, if you want to see hidden files, you can press Control and the Home key, and the Home, and the H key on your keyboard. Control H, and it's gonna toggle hidden files on and on. See, it has a period at the beginning. It's hidden. Do you want to hide any file? All you have to do is put a period at the beginning, or at the beginning of its name, and that file is automatically hidden.
Okay.
Now, if I run the ls command one more time, you're gonna see that you have hidden file and you have also output.pdf.
PDF.
Again, you want to list hidden files, you have to provide the -a option. To list all the files inside a given directory, let's say you're working on another directory. I want to list all the files inside the user share themes at white at directory. There you go. Now, list all the files recursively, meaning I want you to list everything that is in a directory, but if you find a directory, go inside the directory and also list everything that's inside that directory. That's what recursive means. So let's click on clear and let's do ls minus capital R. You're gonna notice that actually let's change directories to my webmaster directory, cd web webstone projects, ls. Those are a couple of projects I'm working on, right, for my master class. So if I do ls minus R, the ls command is gonna go inside these directories, list what's inside those directories, and list whatever is inside the directories that are there, and continue on until it's done. For example, inside the simple project directory, I have one file called file. Inside the history of the internet directory, I have a directory called assets, and then inside the assets directory, I have all these pictures. It goes back and it goes into the HTML directory where it finds all of these directories over here. Inside the HTML directory, there is an image directory, and it lists everything inside that image directory. And it continues on and on and on until it's done.
Professor, which terminal emulator is this one? Because it's displaying with colors and it's very good to look at the files. It's very easy.
Yours is supposed to do that as well in Ubuntu.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is the default
Thank you.
XFCE terminal emulator, but the GNOME terminal emulator will also display with colors.
Thank you.
Now, there is something called long listing. Long listing a file is nothing but listing the file, but with a lot of information about the file. Pretty much metadata about the file. For example, if I want to long list ls, let me see, what do I have in here? I have a file called some text clear. So ls some text. If I just do that, it's just gonna display the file. Yeah, some text. You didn't do nothing else. But if I do -l for long listing, not only it shows me the name of the file, but it shows me the last time the file was modified, including the date. It shows me who owns the file, and it shows me the permissions in the file. All of this information over here is explained in the following slide. Don't go too deep on that particular output, because as time goes by, I'm going to go more deep into what each part means. But let's just go through it just in case. So the date over here and the time indicates the last time the file was modified. For example, if I do vim some text and I add a line of text here, haha, and I do the same command one more time, notice that the timestamp of the last time that it was modified got updated to just now because I just modified the file. This over here is the size of the file, displayed in bytes. You can also display that in human readable file sizes, which means bigger file notation so that you can understand it better. For example, in the downloads directory, in the documents directory, I have a couple of virtual machines. For example, we have ubuntu.oba. And if I do ls minus l, the file size, who can tell? Can you tell how
Sure.
big the file is?
It's
Like, like,
huge.
like it's crazy, right? But if
Yeah.
I do this, ls minus lh,
490.
I can see that it's actually 4 gigabytes because it's displayed in human readable file sizes.
Nice.
Okay, so ls dash 1h shows you the
That's not a
actual
one. That's not a one. That's a letter
Another
L.
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 Yeah.
L. L, L, and H. Long listing human readable file sizes. Let's go back here. The next row, right? The next column represents the group who owns the file. Don't get hung up on that. When we get to file permissions, I'm going to explain what group means, what user means. For now, I'm going to skip that just because we haven't gotten there yet. So just ignore it. When we get to file permissions, you're going to know what that means exactly. Then you got hard links. Don't worry about it. Next week, you're going to learn what a hard link and what a soft link is, not this week. And then you have the file permissions here. Who can do what? Lastly, you have the type of file that it is. A D indicates that it is a directory. A hyphen in the beginning or a minus sign indicates that it is a regular file. Questions?
Nope.
Okay, let's continue. Okay. Okay, that's just explaining. That's just what I just explained you right now. So I'm just gonna continue. Here is a couple of examples of the ls command. List all the files inside a given directory sorted by the last time they were modified. For example, I'm in my home directory right now. I am gonna do a long list of all the files, but but I want the files that were modified last to appear first. And as you can see, the last file that I modified was the some text file. And the oldest file that I have here in modification time, that is this file over here that I downloaded from the internet called Cozy Cabin Ambient Science for people that code too much at night. Oh, yeah, for sleeping, but I use it for coding.
Yeah.
And it was downloaded on May 3rd. Yeah, by the way, I just used the YouTube DL command for that. So it's a command that you can use for downloading videos from YouTube. Just so you know.
Also
So
command to download videos.
yeah, so if you want to download like let me see, let's get one of my videos, for example. What is Slack? Slack is here. Slack is here. General. Like this video, for instance, right? If I want to download that video, all I have to do is do
You need to use the URL, right?
YouTube DL and then paste it, and it's just gonna download the video using the URL.
Damn.
It's nice.
It's super cool. Also, you obviously you need to install the program. I mean, it's not installed by default. But hey, you know how to install software already, so you can go and have fun.
Ah.
Here's other examples over here. Go over those examples. On your free time, you will have a lab in which you are going to get the opportunity to play with those commands. So do it on your free time or do it when you're doing the lab, whichever you choose. You don't have to learn all the options of the ls command by heart. You don't. But there are two options that I suggest you that you learn right away. And that is the option for showing hidden files or displaying all, which is ls minus a,
Honestly.
and n for long listing. Those are two options that you gotta remember. Like, remember those. Make an effort to learn those and learn them well. All the other options, you can always read the man page of the ls command, and this document have all the options explained for you. Don't freak out. I am going to teach you how to read the man page next week.
Okay.
And
So
I'm going to teach you this. I'm also going to teach you this. If I want to see all the options, I only have to run this command on my computer because I have configured it in a way such that I don't have to open the man page in order for me to read to see all these other options over here. I'll show you how I did that as well so that in your Linux system you can replicate that and make your life easy. It's
It's
actually
like a
very simple.
summary you did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Because I read man pages a lot, and for the most part, it's just to read to see the. It's just for the sake of seeing the options of a particular command, right? So I might as well just memorize the command specifically because the command that does that is very long. It's very long. That is an alias of a command that's really really long, and I am too lazy to remember. So let's move on. Anybody has any question about the ls command because we're about to wrap it up.
No, so far
Perfect.
good.
Far so good.
Perfect.
Good so
Trust
far.
me, that when you start using it, it becomes even easier. Now, here is a special note for you, and this is something that have helped me in my journey into the Linux verse. I wasn't always good at the command line. As a matter of fact, for a long period of time, for about a year, I used the command line only for installing software. Nothing else. I did everything else graphically until I decided that it's lame that you call yourself a Linux user and you don't know how to use the command line. So I decided to start reading books, reading tutorials, to actually nature myself on how to use the command line. I forced myself for a whole 3 months to use the command line as much as I can. Not even creating a file was done via the graphical interface. Everything was as much command line as I possibly could. These are 3 tips that I will give you, or that I give you, that help me out become very good at the command line and not be dependent on the graphical interface. All my servers don't have a graphical interface. They all have just the command line because they work
Basically, I
with a
think Professor, the command line is like the revolution of computer because all the computer back in this used to use command line.
and still today they still use
Yeah,
command
it's
line.
the basic.
Command line will
Most of
never
the
go
basic.
command line will never go away because it's the real power of computing.
Yeah.
In a graphical interface, you cannot pack all the options of the command line because if you do, then the graphical interface is not intuitive anymore. Photoshop is not an intuitive program. It's not.
Mm,
But Microsoft Paint is.
okay.
So the first step, is getting very good at navigating the command line. PWD, CD, and LS. This PowerPoint, getting very good at that. If you get good at that, you already have 50% of the battle won. Next one is understanding absolute path and relative path very well. When to use them and why. That takes time. The last thing is learning to read the man page. Two of those things you're gonna learn, one this week, the one next week. But absolute and relative path is a journey. That is good. There will come a time in which it just clicks in your head, and you no longer have to even remember the difference between one and the other. It's just gonna click to you. But you gotta use the command line in order for you to reach that point. Now, if you have any questions for me, you can ask now. If you have any question related to the lab or related to anything else, you can ask me now. I'm going to stop the recording now.